The Florida aquifer is the primary source of water that humans use. So protecting the springs means we're protecting the Florida aquifers. From that standpoint, we're protecting the health of about 14 million people. That's a pretty cool reason for protecting springs. We have the biggest concentration of springs in the whole world here in North Florida. And the purpose and mission of the Florida Springs Institute is to develop the science, accurate science, impartial science necessary to better manage, protect, and restore the springs of Florida for the future. I was working as a state consultant for many years, continuing spring studies, and the state actually had a program to encourage that. And that program was very successful at bringing us up to date on the health of the springs. The state then really dropped a lot of its emphasis on spring science and springs protection around the year 2010, and that's when I decided to start the Florida Springs Institute, so that there wouldn't be a gap in our knowledge about springs.
Over the last 50 years, we've seen a huge increase in population as well as urban development and agricultural development as well. And along with that, we see changes to our land use. So forests become housing units for people, or parking lots or shopping centers. And so what that does is it changes the ecology of the area, and it also changes the hydrology. So you get less aquifer recharge, more pollution, more runoff. If people are fertilizing their yards, you get an increase in fertilizer use. And then one of the most major impacts we've seen is an increase in water use. So basically, we're just using a lot more water than we used to. We're using a lot more fertilizer than we used to. And we're seeing that in the springs.
Anytime we do a spring study, we prepare a report. Those reports are detailed scientific reports, but we also prepare executive summaries for those reports for the public. All of our reports, all of our data is essentially on our website, floridasprings.institute.org. In addition, we have the North Florida Springs Environmental Center, which is right behind me right now, which is our location for the public to come and learn more directly from us, to pick up those executive summaries of the reports and participate in classes that we hold and other events that we hold here.
Our Environmental Center here provides a lot of different resources for people. We have all of our reports from the science and the research that we've done. This is kind of our front area for people to come and learn about the springs, ask us any questions that they want to. We have a manatee skeleton here, which is really educational for people. We also have Poseidon here.
I love having people in the center. I love to tell people about springs, and so do my coworkers. It's so much fun to get someone who is either from a different area and only knows about like their springs, or has never heard of springs in their lives. We get people from up north who are here in Florida to see what we have. And it is probably the best thing to educate people about the springs and see their eyes widen. When people come in here, it really brings me joy, because it means they want to learn more about these beautiful places.
So we have a really nice, robust Springs Watch program, which is our citizen science program. So we get volunteers from all over the state that are going out and monitoring water quality and quantity, some ecological monitoring at 12 different spring systems across the state. So that's really educational for people. That's getting science into the hands of the people. So that's really important for us. We also have Springs Field School, where we bring in experts, and we have our own expert on staff, our executive director, Bob Knight, that teaches spring science to people that sign up and come, and they get to go on a paddling adventure where they really see the science at work.
We also are about to launch a program called Springs Friendly Yards, and you can learn how in your own backyard you can help reduce your water impact, not taking as much water out of the springs, using your rainwater, reducing your nitrogen load impact by not using fertilizers, and planting with native Florida plants that are drought resistant, that don't require these fertilizers and can actually flourish in soil. And that is a way in your own yard to be reducing the impact that you have on the Florida springs.
Science sometimes can be this closed system where it's scientists talking to scientists in sort of science speak, and the public doesn't have that much access to that. So it's, I would say, one of our biggest roles here at the Florida Springs Institute and the North Florida Springs Environmental Center is getting that science into the hands of the people.
We are totally dependent on private funds for our funding. We're a private nonprofit. We receive no funding from the state of Florida. So we're totally separate from the University of Florida and the state of Florida government. That allows our science to be impartial and accurate. Unfortunately, that's what's necessary actually to carry on good scientific work today. So we're totally dependent on the public for donations, memberships, grants, and foundation donations. And that's how we do all our work.
It's definitely a challenge to think, how can I actually change something? Such a big problem that's been going on for so long. What can I do? Obviously, donating, becoming a member, subscribing to our newsletter, getting this information out, but also telling other people about us, telling other people what you know about the Springs, being an ambassador yourself for treating the Springs with respect. We have our citizen science program if you're interested in that. There's lots of different ways. There's conservation easements that protect land around the Springs.
The people of Florida are the biggest resource that we have in protecting our springs. And the more that people can know about the challenges that our springs face, the more they can take action in their own lives and in their own homes. Every drop counts.